welcome to the Portland Film Festival, virtual version 2020. We're all kind of locked down. Look at my virtual background. It goes in, it goes out. Don't mind the light coming from the blinds. That's just a thing. Special effects. Ah, and just before we go ahead and get started with this great filmmaker of this documentary, movie trailers, a love story, John Campea. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, it's a very rare Italian name, but yes, Campea.
Yes. Before we dive in, I got to go ahead and thank Comcast, who, if you're a Portland Film Festival fan, you've got Comcast gear, or you have Film Festival gear, and there's always like a Comcast logo somewhere on there. So I've got tons of hoodies with Comcast on them, so you know I love them. And I also love their commitment to independent filmmakers, and they continue to do it, and they continue to ensure that there are diverse voices out there, and that film festivals like this don't stop. We keep going, despite like Ian Malcolm said, life finds a way, and so does independent film. And we'd also like to thank Kerner Camera, Cleaner Path, SAG-AFTRA, Plumtree Mortgage, and Oregon Film. And you can find out more about these great sponsors, and they're truly great because we're here right now. And you can find more about that online at the Portland Film Festival website. Now that I've gotten all that out of the way, let me go ahead and tell you right now, John, I am a trailer junkie. I love trailers. By the way, John's movie, it's a documentary called Movie Trailers, a love story. And if you get a chance, you have to see it. If you're a lover of trailers, if you're sitting there like me on your phone, waiting for the trailer to come out, if you were a kid sitting there recording E.T., waiting for, or Siskel and Ebert, just waiting for those trailers to come up. John's nodding. I know he did it too.
Oh yeah.
So you're really going to enjoy this movie, and I think you're really going to enjoy this Q&A. So John, I'm going to dive in.
Sure.
And just before we ask anything else, I'm just going to go ahead and break protocol and just ask you right now, what was the trailer that did it for you? You have to have had one.
I mean, there were two trailers that really did it for me, and they're it's kind of weird, but one was, you got to understand, I grew up as a Transformers fanatic. I would buy every Transformers toy, cut out the picture from the box, cut out the power level bar on the backs of the box, and put them up on the walls of my bedroom. It was just plastered on my wall. So when the first trailer for the first live action Transformers movie came out, I almost wept. And then, like a lot of people, it was the Phantom Menace trailer. Before the Phantom Menace, I thought I was kind of unique as a Star Wars fan. I didn't know that Star Wars was so beloved by so many people. And then when there was a new Star Wars movie coming out, and we have an entire chapter of our documentary dedicated to the Phantom Menace trailer, but that was the trailer that kind of made me fall in love with trailers.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely. I had my experience, but this is about you. We're not going to talk about how I went to go see. It was apparently Meet Joe Black. I can't even remember what the film was when I went to go see the Phantom Menace trailer, but I remember. Is this right? Did they show the trailer before and after the film?
Yeah, it was the first time. It was the first time since like the 1930s that they had actually showed a trailer after the film. But that was part of the appeal, right? They actually used that trailer. And I don't want to spoil everything from the movie, but they actually used that trailer as a way to get people to come to the movies. Like, people were buying tickets to go see Meet Joe Black, to see it, and they would add the extra incentive for people to come see the movie, saying, not only we're going to show the Phantom Menace trailer, but we're going to show it after the movie is done as well, to prevent people from watching the trailer, getting up and leaving, because that's what the first audiences that were going to see it were doing. They were buying their tickets, going to see Meet Joe Black. The Phantom Menace trailer would start, and there are reports all over the place about then people in mass would just get up and leave. And so they started telling people, we're also going to show it after the movie is done. So it's kind of unique in history that way.
Yeah, and let's go ahead and backtrack. For those of you who have not seen the film or may only know a little bit about it, Movie Trailers, A Love Story is basically a documentary about the life and times of trailers from their birth that were over 100 years ago. I did not know that, the reason why they're called trailers, again, I don't want to spoil it for you. You can probably Google it yourself, but it's a very interesting story. Did you know that story before you started doing this documentary?
I did know about that story about, so basically, trailers used to play after the movies, hence they trailed the movies, and that's where they were known as trailers. And to this day, we still call them that. But, when I first started thinking about doing this documentary, I did what I normally do when I'm ever uh, about to launch in any endeavor. I hop onto Amazon and start looking for books I can get. Because, if you search for books on making wood chairs, you're going to find 5,000 books. If you want to find books on running cables to your speakers, you're going to find 5,000 books. So I went on and started to look for books on trailers. There were two books on
Books.
trailers. And that was the moment to me that I went, okay, well, we got to do this document. Like I was thinking about it at that point, and I said, we've got to do it. And I was very, very fortunate that Dr. Keith Johnston, who literally wrote the book on movie trailers, one of the authors of one of those two books, we were able to get him in the documentary as well. And that's what kind of sealed for it. And I learned a lot. Like I've been a professional film pundit and film commentator for almost 15 years now. And I learned so much just in the process of doing the documentary myself.
Yeah, and I used to review film, and as well as I do. I mean, as a film reviewer yourself, as well as I do that there are times where you'll go to a film and sometimes you don't even get a trailer, but when you do get the trailer, sometimes that was the best part of your night because the movie you went to go see. Yeah. And so sometimes the best part of your night. Now, I wanted to get into an aspect of trailers as trailers have evolved. You talked a lot about how the trailers started out and how they've evolved and how the internet played a really big role in what trailers have become today. And I really did want to ask you about trailer reactions. That was something that I did not see coming in the documentary because I'm gonna go, I'm gonna fanboy out. I love trailer reactions. You had one of my favorite guys from Struggle Nation on there. That was a really big treat because I was like, oh, I remember the Black Panther trailer. I
Drew's
remember
great.
watching.
Drew Winfield, Ecomog from day one. He's great. I loved having him in.
Yeah, that was a great moment for me, seeing him and just seeing how far he came, because I wasn't a Johnny come lately. I've been watching him since, oh gosh, probably early days. And so it was really cool to see him and say, oh my gosh, it's that. And so what was that like? Did you send out a lot of calls? The reason I wanted to get into this is, you had a lot of great interviews with people that if you're fans of trailers, if you're fans of the internet, if you're fans of the film community that lives on the internet, you had quite a few people on there. It's like, oh, hey, it was that guy, this that guy. Did you get everybody you wanted, or did you specifically hunt these guys down? Did you know them beforehand?
A number of them, yeah, a number of them I knew beforehand because, like I said, I've been in the online space for a long time. It was really weird when we reached out to Drew. I had never met Drew before from Struggle Nation. And when we reached out to him, like he came in all shaky and everything. And I thought, well, you're on camera all the time. He goes, you don't understand. I've been a fan of yours for like 8 years. I'm like, what? So it's really weird. But I was lucky that I knew most of the people, not everybody. I knew most of the people, but like Ashley Miller, who is the writer of the first Thor movie of X-Men First Class.
Yeah.
I'd never known him, but we had a mutual connection, and I loved his take on movies and the promotion of movies. So we reached out to him. And of course, Dr. Keith Johnston, who I've never known before, but I've had some connection with a lot of them thanks to the background that I had. And trailer reactions, I mean, it was just such a dominant thing, really, on the internet, such a hyper pop, and it really represents kind of what the heart of the documentary is really about. Because the reason it's called Movie Trailers: A Love Story is that it is about trailers, but really at the heart of it, it's about the relationship that movie trailers have with us as the audience and how that relationship has evolved. And I always kind of thought the emergence of the trailer reactions on YouTube is a great kind of manifestation of that, the expression of that relationship and of that romance that the trailers have with us.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Like I said, I geeked out. There was these moments, and I'm going to go ahead and take a moment, fanboy out to you as well. I might as well just admit it. I'm a fan. but
Oh, I didn't know that.
oh yeah,
Thanks,
no,
man.
I was trying to keep it on the right because when they said, when they said, oh, you get to interview John, I was like, wait, what? Sweet. And then because I had heard about your documentary a while ago, and was really excited about seeing it and getting to see it finally, and then getting to interview you. Big fan. But
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
oh yeah, and the trailer for me, I just have to tell you this. I'm taking the opportunity. I don't care. You can edit. They can edit this out if they want. The trailer for me was you had so many guys talking about Star Trek, and so that really got me too because my favorite trailer of all time, and I love how you interview people and ask them about their trailers, and they had those moments, and I was just like, oh my god, I am not the only one. I had that moment you had. I'm not the only one who really does feel a connection to trailers just as much as I do movies. And for mine, it was a teaser trailer for Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country.
Oh, wow.
Where,
Yeah.
Where they have the ship and they just show just scenes from all the way back from the original series, all over the ship, and it's just, and then the ship, and then there's just this great speech about, they've been your friends. And then when they said that point, friends, I think about Star Trek 2, and he's like, I have been, always shall be your friend. So that got me. I remember being a kid and get choked up when I heard him say, they've been our friends. And so that was, I was hoping that someone was going to say that one, but they did do motion picture. They did do Wrath of Khan, and that was great. So I wanted to ask you, you've talked about favorite trailers. Has there been a trailer that has ever turned you off on a film? You've talked about it. So I'm going to kind of flip the script on you and just kind of ask you some of the questions you asked some of the people in your documentary.
Yeah, I mean, that's the funny thing about trailers. I mean, I think it was Michael Davis, the director of 8 Days a Week and Shoot 'Em Up. He was in the documentary and he says, trailers aren't really commercials. They're like those free sample candies that people hand out at the mall. Here, try a taste, try a little bit. And that first taste can do a lot to get you excited about wanting to devour it, or it can turn you off. And there have been, I always say that the job of a trailer is to take your excitement level for a movie, regardless if it's high or if it's low, and just bump it up a couple of notches, right? And there are certainly trailers that do the opposite and they bump it down. Now, a couple of the worst trailers, like for me in history, one was that first trailer for the most recent Ghostbusters movie with the all-female cast. A movie that, by the way, I don't think is all that bad. I know everybody hates that movie. I actually don't think the movie's all that bad, but that very first trailer that they dropped, where it was just all the sound effects from the original Ghostbusters and just titling. And I remember it left a lot of people, including myself, confused, going, you've already said this isn't a continuation of the previous Ghostbusters. It's a total reboot. Why are you drawing all this nostalgia and making us think about the original Ghostbusters when this? And it turned a lot of people off, and they were just never willing to give it another chance. Again, after that happened, John Carter was one of the worst trailers I've ever seen. Which should have been called John Carter of Mars, which is the name of the book.
Yeah. Don't know why they didn't do that.
No, I mean, but it's not just the trailer. That was one of the worst marketing campaigns in history because that movie's really good.
Yeah.
That John Carter movie is really good with Taylor Kitsch, and it was directed by the Pixar guy, and I'm freezing on his name right now, Andrew Stanton, I think it was, directed by Andrew Stanton. Brilliant, but it turned people off. Alita Battle Angel, which just came out recently, the first trailer came out, and everybody was like, what is this? And why do her eyes look so weird? And blah. Now, later trailers were quite good, but that first one, and it's like Mom always said, you never get a second chance to make a good first impression. And unfortunately, trailers like that, once you see a bad first trailer and that's your first impression for a movie, it's pretty much game over at that point. So those are just some of the ones that stand out to me.
Okay. And I'm going to keep it going here. Sorry.
Sure.
What was the trailer that lived up to the hype for you?
Oh, Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. I'll never forget, because I mean, by that point, I was already completely on board with Lord of the Rings, as most of us were, right? And then they come out, and I'm trying to remember the piece of music that it's the Something Sweet from another movie that Jake Gyllenhaal was in. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but at any rate, it comes out, bum, 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 like they come out and they play this music that's going with it. And they just did such a great job of wrapping and encapsulating everything that we loved about Lord of the Rings into this first trailer for the final epic movie. And it was everything. And then, of course, the movie itself is arguably the most successful movie of all time. No film in history has ever won more Academy Awards than Lord of the Rings Return of the King did. It won 11 Academy Awards. Only two other films in history did that as well. It's swept every single nomination it had. It was nominated for 11 Academy Awards. It won 11 Academy Awards. And I, to this day, consider it to be one of the greatest achievements in cinematic history was that film. So that was a trailer that promised a lot and a movie that absolutely delivered on it.
Oh yeah. Now, you were talking about music. I love that you went there. I love that segue. Now, me personally, I have an entire playlist called movie trailers on my phone. It's
Nice.
just music that I have gotten from movie trailers. I'm sure you're the same way. What have been some of, and because a good, and like you said in the documentary, a good song can make or break a trailer. And so
Absolutely.
yeah, and so what have been some of the music? I mean, what are some of the trailers that we talked about, some of your favorites? What were some of the trailers? And even in documentary, people talked about songs. What's been some of the trailer music that really got you?
I mean, really, the one for me that stands out the most. We talk about one of them, which is that in the documentary we talk about Led Zeppelin, the Immigrant Song used in the Thor Ragnarok. I mean that's just
how it took 3 movies to find how it took 3 movies to be like, wait a minute, it's literally about him.
They had to probably save up money to afford the rights to do it. But honestly, the one to me, and I feel bad because we have an entire chapter in the documentary just about music, and we didn't even touch on this one. It broke my heart that none of the people we interviewed brought it up, but I'll tell you the one that for me does everything. I hear this song still in my head, and I don't think of the movie, I think of the trailer instantly. And that was the trailer for Logan with Johnny Cash, that Johnny Cash covering the Nine Inch Nails song. And I hurt myself today to see if I still, I mean, that piece of music paired with that particular track, because it's not about just picking any great song. It's about the right pairing of the right song with the right trailer. And I have never seen a better marriage of a cover song that really captures the spirit of the visuals you're seeing as that first Logan trailer. I saw that the first time and my jaw hit the floor, my heart was pounding, and I must have sat in my office and I had all my other staff come in and everybody's gathered around the computer and we just watched it again and again and again. So that's the one to me that stands out the most.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I know exactly how you feel about that one because that was a song that I had already loved. That's probably one of the, in my personal opinion, I think you agree, probably one of the top 5 best covers of all time.
Yeah. Fabulous.
And I just remember I can't hear that song either without seeing the visuals. I can't hear that song without seeing him flip around in the car and and then X-23's on top of it. Like those visuals, and that to me is when you know the music hits, when your mind's eye completely associates the song with the trailer, with the visuals. And so I completely agree on that.
Now, and normally that happens with movies and us. For instance, like you hear Bryan Adams' Everything I Do It For You, you instantly think of Kevin Costner's Robin Hood. You hear Celine Dion, you instantly think of Titanic, but it's that specifics when it's actually for the trailer and not just the movie. And that's a pretty magic moment.
Yeah, no. And so you did talk about Don Fontaine, the great Don Fontaine, and you even showed a clip from In a World, another film,
Lake Bell's movie.
Lake Bell's movie. Loved it. That was a great one. I love that ending. Gina Davis coming out of nowhere. That was great. And so now let's move on to some voiceovers. What were some voiceovers? Like I talked about Star Trek 6, like that voiceover just kind of got me. And you talk a lot about voiceovers and how it's kind of gone out of fashion a bit, the voiceover, and it's kind of been replaced with, as you put it, like the the nostalgia song of, hey, this is a new version of that song you love. So what were some great voiceovers that you loved in trailers?
Well, it's funny because I was of that generation that it was so like Don LaFontaine, and it wasn't, he wasn't the only one to do it. He's just the most well known and the king of all of them. But it was so commonplace that you didn't even notice that they were there because every single trailer just sort of did it. Well, the ones that have really started to stand out to me the most over the last number of years is the narration done by a character in the movie, right? So just as an example, um the Luke Skywalker voice, you hear his narration and his voiceover during the new Star Wars movie trailers, right? Like you hear Luke saying, "The Force is strong in my family." And you're like, "Oh," like so when it's actually narration being given, or going back to like The Dark Knight when Michael Caine is like, "Some men just want to watch the world burn." Things like it's kind of gone from the narrator part for me into when you hearing these without seeing the characters, just hearing their vocal voiceovers narrating their way through, but it's actually a character from the film, and those are the ones that really kind of have a big power on me right now.
Yeah. So we've dived completely into this movie, which is exactly what I wanted to do. But we haven't really talked about you, John. So you what would you say your background is as far as a documentary filmmaker? I have to pretend like I don't know these things. What would you say as a documentary filmmaker? What do you think you'll be doing more of them? Have you done more? Like, what was your career path that got you to such a great documentary?
Well, I mean, like I said, I got into being a film blogger about 15 years ago, and I started a website called The Movie Blog just as a hobby. I was actually working in law at the time, but movies have always been my life's passion, so I was blogging about that. It grew and grew and grew. I did the world's first audio podcast, movie related podcast. And then I kind of transitioned into video. I was the first like movie website that was doing video. And then, a few years after that, I decided I wanted to have a better appreciation for what it is these filmmakers whose work has so influenced my life. I wanted to have a better appreciation for what they did. So I wrote and directed and produced a little rom-com called The Anniversary, which is absolutely horrible by most standards, but I'm very proud of it nonetheless. So I
Yeah.
did that. And I also embarked on I did a documentary about 13 years ago called Prince of Peace, God of War, that kind of looked at the pro-war and the anti-war movements within the North American Christian church. And I think it was very interesting, but terrible from a filmmaking point of view. It was absolutely terrible. But again, it was for me to appreciate and learn a little bit more about what these filmmakers who I spend my time and all my days talking about and watching and appreciating. And it was about, and I've done a number of other things. I did a show for Lionsgate and their Comic-Con HQ network called Film HQ for a while. I worked on a show for Verizon's Go 90 network that I produced with Jeremy Johns called Awesome Tacular. And it was about a year and a half ago, I started thinking I was getting the creative itch to do another project. And I started thinking about trailers. I mean, it's the thing we don't hear people, we talk about trailers every single day. Everybody talks about trailers. Everybody knows trailers. Everybody gets excited about trailers, but there's really nothing out there that sits down and takes a look at what trailers are. And then when I started looking at books and realizing there were only two in existence, that's when to me, I thought, yeah, I want to do this. And as far as what comes next, I already have my next project planned out. Um,
Nice.
and we're not announcing it yet, but we've got our next planned out. We've already had our first few meetings about it, and I'm excited about it. It's going to be more of a series than anything else. But yeah, but this experience, this last year and a bit of making this documentary has been amazing. It's been educational. And when I got the email saying that our little project had been accepted into the Portland Film Festival, I mean, that's just has been the highlight of this journey with us so far, and we're incredibly honored to be a part of it, and can't wait to move on to the next one.
Yeah, no, it is. It's almost. And please don't take this the wrong way. It's not intended to say that this isn't a great thing to watch in theater. It is, but it is almost the ultimate home movie as far as the documentary, because it is one of those things that watching it with the crowd is great. It's a completely different experience, and I think it's on par. But that is one of those things where watching it by myself, it made me feel like I was part of a larger community, and it was kind of nice to be by myself while I did that, if that makes any sense.
Oh, absolutely. No.
Because it was one of those things that you you see trailer reactions, you see people watch trailers, you see how popular they are, but you also see football, and football's popular, but people don't, I know dozens, hundreds, thousands of people who like football but don't know football. It's
Right.
like, oh yeah, no, I love that team, and that guy is still on it, right? And they still wear the jersey, they go to the game, and that's fine. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you find that like hardcore football fans, there aren't a lot of people that know football, that really know it, live it, love it. And to be able to watch this documentary and be like, oh, not only am I not the only one, there are enough people out there that John decided to go out and make a documentary, and it was a great documentary. And I hope it's a documentary that people watch and they realize the amount of time and effort that go into making a trailer. And I mean, just going to I'm sorry, is the name of the company Aspect? Am I
Aspect.
getting it?
Yes.
Yeah,
They are
Aspect.
they are actually the
Yeah.
oldest movie trailer company in Hollywood right now. They've been along since 1978.
So okay, so you talked about it earlier. I'm going to bring you back to that. You went to them, you went to the house. And like
Yeah.
this would be this would be me going to the White House 8 years ago. And it would be huge. And what was that like? You just gave us a little bit, but what was it like? What did you see? Did you learn anything about trailers that you didn't know before? Did you get to see anything that ahead of anybody else? Did it take you into a room and say, John, check this out?
All right. So I knew right away as we started the process of putting this documentary together and we knew we are going to do it. I knew right away, if I can't get one of the actual big trailer companies to agree to be interviewed for this, there's no point. There's just no point without talking to the actual people who make them. And fortunately, the first people I reached out to, the people at Aspect, who've made some of the biggest trailers and worked on some of the biggest campaigns in the world, were so gracious to meet with me. And, we went down, we brought our gear, and we set up, and they kept us waiting for about 3 hours because they had some major things going on at the same time, like the fires they had to put out. So when they came in and sat down, we got the two presidents of the company and their creative director came in, and they couldn't have been nicer. But it was like walking into, a government building. It was locked down because they have so many NDAs with the studios that entrust their movies and all the secrets of their movies to these trailer companies. Because I had asked them, I had requested, can you take us around to like your conceptual artist place, the museum? And they're like, nope, we cannot let you in there at all. We can tell you all the stories, but we can't take you in there. So walking in there and just being there was kind of like, walking into Willy Wonka's chocolate factory as a kid who grew up as a big movie fan my whole life. And just being there was amazing. But no, they were never able to take me behind the closed doors. They just weren't allowed to. They couldn't let us do that. But still, the amount that they were able, we sat with them for about 2 hours, and just the amount of stuff that I learned from them about the process of it and things. Some things I suspected, some things I never did. But it was definitely one of the highlights of the whole process of making this documentary.
Do you think you'll ever do another one, another documentary?
It's hard to say. And one of the reasons why it's difficult to say is because as I said, as a film commentator, one of the reasons I've done projects like this is to really evolve my understanding and appreciation of the artists who do these things. And one of the things that I've really appreciated is how insanely difficult it is. I mean, doing a documentary, all the great folks who are participating in the Portland Film Festival this year, who, my fellow competitors in there, and narrative filmmakers as well, and the shorts and stuff like that. The amount of talent and drive and intellect and creativity that these incredible artists do without Hollywood level budgets, to tell these stories, be they documentary form or narrative, is so overwhelming. Like, to me, it's absolutely overwhelming and inspiring. And part of me knows I'm always going to, moving forward for the rest of my life, I'm always going to make film, but it might be from more of a producer's point of view. So whether I direct another film, I'm not sure. Direct another documentary, I'm not sure. I think I might want to, if circumstances work, get behind another creative filmmaker who wants to do it and support them and help them make their visions and make their projects. Or 3 months from now, I get bit by the bug again, and I want to do it again. But a lot will have to do with, we'll see how the audience responds to Movie Trailers A Love Story. If we're able to find some success with it, and there's a call for more, well, then absolutely, obviously, as a human being, I'm going to want to sit down and look at doing another one. But we'll see how it all kind of turns out.
All right. Okay. Well, I hope you do, because I really did love that one.
Thank
And
you.
one more question before I let you go. I just wanted to ask, was there anyone that you wanted to get that you couldn't have gotten, just if schedule things? Was there one thing? Now, you did touch on one thing. Is there anything else that you didn't get to put in the film? Maybe something that was left on the floor, maybe something that, like, afterwards you were like, oh darn, man, I didn't think about that one.
There were two really come to mind. One, if you guys will remember, Freddie Prinze Jr.
Oh yeah.
I actually know Freddie, and
He's got a great YouTube. Yeah.
oh, he's such. I mean, he is a great actor. Has had and continues to have a great career. But I think he's even better as a YouTuber. He's so good.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He and I spoke, and I wanted to get his perspective, because we have screenwriters and directors and producers in there. I really wanted an actor who has, like, literally been in some high profile things, an actor's perspective about trailers and seeing their work. And he told me some fabulous stories. I'm like, oh my God, dude, I've got to have you in this thing. And we tried about 4 times to make our schedules line up that I could get him in. And then with the COVID and the pandemic lockdown, it made it even more difficult. And ultimately, I just had to wave the white flag, and we weren't able to get that. Maybe if I'm able to do another one at some point, I'm going to make a project where I can get him to tell these stories, because they're just amazing. The other one was, and this is going to sound funny, the other one was Ryan Reynolds, is the one guy I really, really wanted. Because not just because he's a good Canadian kid like me, not just because he's one of the most exciting film stars in the world today, but the ad campaign for Deadpool is one of the most successful and creative and fun ad campaigns of all time. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if I could get Ryan? And I think Ryan only follows, I think, like 75 people on Twitter, and I happen to be one of them. So, and he's corresponded with me before. And so I took a little bit of a chance as during the beginning stages, and I wrote to him my pitch saying, hey, Ryan, listen, I want to do this. I know you're busy, but I would love to be able, I'll fly to Vancouver. I will come in if I can just get 5 minutes with you on a sidewalk outside of your house. And it was kind of a, let's see, but it wasn't able to get it to work. So yeah, really, other than that, everybody else I reached out to, we were able to do, which was great. And I love the collection of people that we got. And I didn't go for the big mega stars other than Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really great otherwise.
No, but I mean, but that was a great pick, though. I mean, because if you were ever going to go for anyone, who would be better at talking about, like, a big star doing, getting down? And I mean, that Deadpool trailer, I mean, that, that was a pitch that got leaked and then became, and then basically got the movie done. I mean, that's that would be the one person. So
Yeah,
no,
and the entire campaign surrounding Deadpool, and that's why I thought of him. But whatever, I wasn't able to make it happen. It's okay.
no. I think he'll see the documentary and he'll just be like, damn, I should have made it happen.
Well,
Because
one
it
could
is,
hope.
yeah,
I
no,
hope so.
it really is, it's a great documentary, and I'm really glad to talk to you. And it's every now and then you get the chance. I've lucked out this festival to be able to interview people that I truly admire, and people I've admired for a long time. Like so, I had to kind of like, oh no, how do you pronounce your name? No, man, I know because you're great. And I just wanted to say thank you, and thank you to the audience who've been watching. Please go and virtually vote for Movie Trailers, A Love Story. If you have the chance to see it, please go see it. Check out the trailer for Movie Trailer, A Love Story. That is some Inception-ness right there. And I'd just like to thank everyone else involved, like to thank Comcast again, like to thank all of our sponsors, like to thank Portland Film Festival itself. By the way, if you ever get a chance for 2021, you should definitely go out. They have some great closing night parties over at the Portland Film Festival. And so, all right, so everyone, please go ahead and check out more films. Head over to the virtual festival lobby. And like I said, go ahead and virtually vote for Movie Trailers, The Love Story. And before I let you go, because you are a personality, I do have to say, how do people get in contact with you? You know that one.
Well, the best way you can get and follow me is on Instagram or Twitter. I have the same ID. They're simply at John Campea. That's JohnCampea. So just at John Campea is how you can follow me online.
All right. Well, that is it. You guys, please, like I said, go out and check out the film. Thank you, John. And
Thank you.
take care. All right. Bye now. And I think they cut it. And if they don't, they're going to see this. Man, thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Leroy. Seriously, Leroy, I've enjoyed this so much. That's great. Now, if you look, I have a 4:00 person.
Yeah, get out of here, man.
But again, thank you so much for your time, and thanks for letting me be a part of this.
No, thank you for letting me interview you. You go ahead and go do your thing, man.
All right, take care, man. Take care.
All right, bye now.